Are you there? Can you hear me? Are you able to join the stage? And that looks very, very positive.
Yeah,
yes,
hi.
Lucas, you're here. Perfect. So as I said, this time we were going to focus, as you work for Lufthansa Systems and representing the whole LIDO suite, we're going to really focus on how your system helps airlines to integrate such a digital fueling process, basically without any huge efforts when they're already using your system. So without further ado, the stage is yours. Let's just dive right into it.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. So very short introduction about my person. My name is Lukasz Osuch. I'm responsible product owner for the briefing solutions in LIDO Flight suite product. I'm responsible for web application, which is used by dispatcher, handling agents, and pilots, and also for mobile solutions like LIDO M briefing. But also I'm taking care of other solutions like EFF, electronic flight folder, and APIs which are accessible from third-party applications. Today I will talk about LIDO M briefing, our newest briefing product, and how LIDO M briefing works together with electronic fuel order. So that's very short, the introduction. So I would very shortly would like to talk about our main goal in LIDO Flight, in LIDO suite in general. This is so-called total mission optimization, which actually combines all our tools in one ecosystem. These are our flight planning service, LIDO Flight Plan application, together with monitoring service. Here, very important part are also our briefing applications, like LIDO Flight Crew Briefing and LIDO M Briefing, but also applications like LIDO M Pilot, where supports pilots during the whole flight. So first, the mission starts with the flight calculation and flight preparation, together with constantly monitoring on back office side, on dispatcher side. Then, of course, the information needs to be transferred to the pilots, and here we have our briefing applications. Depends on airline needs. We can provide different products like electronic flight folder interfaces, or just API for other briefing applications. And of course, our user-centric solutions here, LIDO Crew Briefing and LIDO M Briefing. Very important is that during the flight we are constantly monitoring the situation, and our monitoring tools in LIDO Flight integrated with LIDO Flight can also react on the changes during the flight. And then, of course, having real-time updates, it is also possible to, after the flight, we are gathering all information which took place during the flight and preparing archives. And these archives can be used for post-flight analysis, but also for archiving purpose. So we are keeping regulatory 90 days briefing packages or flight plans in our archive, and airline can every time look into the archive and use the archives for different purposes. So that's the big picture, how LIDO Flight, LIDO ecosystem works together with pilot apps and flight planning solutions. And now I will shortly talk about LIDO M briefing and how fuel order works together with LIDO M briefing and LIDO Crew Briefing. So main benefits, of course, which I think we already mentioned, is we can reduce time by having electronic solutions in form of EFP. So it is possible to start the process much earlier than in classical way. The pilot can use already and check the fuel values planned for the flight, even on iPhone, in hotel room or at home, there is no need to go into the briefing station and then prepare the briefing. The process can start much earlier. The design is also prepared in that way that allows pilot to look in the first step at most important information like weight, fuel, and check the most important NOTAMs. So it's also more flexible, so pilot does not have to review the whole briefing package, which they will do later, but they can start with the most important things. Of course, also very important is communication between briefing, application, pilot, and dispatcher. These tools supports also this communication. So for us, it's very important that dispatcher knows exactly where the pilot is in the briefing preparation, what was ordered by pilot. So dispatcher has also information about the process. Did pilot order additional fuel? That's also what is important. With electronic fuel order, I will talk later about benefits, but basically our goal is to make it easier for pilots and safer, so reduce human errors and simplify the process. And all this also, it's important to collect data for archives and give airline also information about the flight, so that they can do also the post-flight analysis. And I mentioned also the application is available on iPhones, which also makes life easier. It's the briefing packages or the information about fuel are more accessible for the pilots. The electronic flight folder allows user to so the goal is actually to build up the fuel order application according to fuel policy of the airline. It's a little bit complicated because the ARINC standard, which is used for electronic flight folder, does not foresee this in standard implementation. There are standard values, but each airline has own fuel policy, and to bring the best overview for pilots, it's important to build up the fuel numbers which corresponding with airline fuel policy. I mentioned it's also very important for us to integrate this, to have integrated solution for the dispatch, which is working together with LIDO Crew Briefing, our web application, and the mobile solution, so that the pilots and dispatcher, they have the same status of the process. They are on the same status, and with direct communication with to the ID1 platform, we would like to make this process even simpler. This will allow us new functionality that make process much quicker and easier for airline to implement electronic fuel order. I mentioned also after flight, all data are collected and sent back to the airline, and here it's also possible to have insight in that what pilot actually did, how was the process decision made by pilots. Very short about integration with fuel platform. So the fuel platform, if electronic fuel platform, will direct communicate to our LIDO flight crew briefing, which is our backend service for the mobile solution. Here, this is also a tool where dispatcher has overview over all flights and the most current information about fuel order status, about briefing status in general, about fuel order status. Here it's also possible to add additional documents and prepare briefing for the pilots. And of course, the LIDO crew briefing can be also used by handling agents where LIDO M-briefing is designed specifically for pilots to support pilots in briefing process, in fuel order process, but also support pilots during the flight, where pilots can put information about fuel consumption and time, and this is also important for archive. The whole solution will be integrated with electronic fuel platform to make it easier to use for pilots and airlines. And why we are doing this? Main reason is to increase safety. So the briefing package is always accessible for the pilots. It's also contain the newest updates for NOTAM matter and the fuel information. Briefing application also allows cross-check between for the pilots, so they can better cross-check the information. That's also something what can be supported by M-briefing application, and also like human errors instead of the application also validates the limits and make easier to order additional fuel for the pilots. Okay, that's everything from M-briefing. Very short introduction. If you have questions, then I'm happy to answer all questions.
Exactly. So thank you, Lukasz, first of all, for that beautiful presentation. And yeah, call to the audience. If you have any questions for Lukasz, if your airline, for example, is already using LIDO, it might be a little bit more interesting to you at that point. So feel free to ask, to put the question into the questions tab on the sidebar. And yeah, we're happy to direct them at Lukasz. If not, I have one up my sleeve. But let's see if there's something coming. Well, Lukasz, I will jump in, maybe give the people a little bit more time. Do you have any secret projects around digital fueling planned with LIDO at the moment that you can share with us, or is that all very confidential?
No secrets. So we are really working very close with airlines to support the briefing process, and we are doing also workshops with airlines to better understand what is decision process by pilots to properly order fuel. I think one of the most important point is to really build up the airline fuel policy, because this is actually the base for the decision for the pilots. It's sometimes the fuel policy are very specific, and we have to modify the input files which are generated by by flight planning service to properly build up this on the screen. So I think we will expect not only changes in LIDO M-briefing in terms of integration with such a platform like ID1 for fuel order process, but also changes to better support pilots' decision in fuel order. So I think that's and very important for us is that we are not only changing the mobile solution, but also the web solution which is used by dispatcher, because also I think it's also important that the dispatch office and the pilots have the same pictures over the briefing package. So this is not only related with fuel order, but also with other briefing package parts. That's one of our goals, to keep the product consistent.
All right, so thank you for those insights. And one question popped up from Chris. So I don't know, Lukasz, if you can enter your chat, but he's asking you to elaborate a little bit further about the ARINC issue at hand.
So yes, right now we are supporting ARINC 633-2, which is generated directly in LIDO flight. On our roadmap, let's say, it's definitely support ARINC 633, and I think we will jump directly into 4. This will, I'm not quite sure if you're familiar with this ARINC 633-3. And for main actually benefits is that they allow to have partial updates for specific topics inside, of course, EFF protocol, let's say. This will be done once we integrate the EFF together with LIDO crew briefing. So that's I think quite near future that we will first integrate the electronic flight folder interfaces with LIDO crew briefing, our briefing backend solution, and then we will step by step move to implement RING 633-3, and I think we will jump directly to 4 because there are not so big changes between 3 and 4. And as I said, the main benefits will be to have partial updates for electronic flight folder files.
All right, thank you. I hope, Chris, I'll have a look at the chat if Lukasz was able to answer your question fully. He's typing. He said, thanks. All right, so Lukasz, I think our time is coming to an end. So thank you very, very much for your presentation.
Thank you for having
your
me.
time. And yeah, hopefully we will see you once more in one of the future webinars.
Thank you very much.
To give us basically an update on what you told us today.
Bye-bye.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.